Hello, I'm Sandy Arnett. On this edition of Commuter Connections, we'll introduce you to the North Avenue Rising Initiative to revitalize the North Avenue corridor of Baltimore. MDOT-MTA is partnering with Zipcar to provide you an additional transportation option with transit. We'll introduce you to a heroic bus operator who answered the call of civic duty. And we've got a visit from everyone's favorite, Santa, all on this edition of Commuter Connections. Through the leadership of Governor Larry Hogan, state, federal, and local government have teamed up for an initiative that will bring economic revitalization to Baltimore's North Avenue corridor and provide much-needed access to economic opportunity for city residents. The initiative is called North Avenue Rising. MDOT-MTA Project Manager Patrick McMahon of the MDOT-MTA Planning Department joins us with more on this initiative. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sandy.
So for viewers who may not know, what is North Avenue Rising?
Well, the North Avenue Rising is a joint project between MDOT-MTA and Baltimore City Department of Transportation to make a variety of transportation investments along the North Avenue corridor to improve the economic revitalization along that corridor and the conditions for folks in the communities along that corridor.
So tell us about some of the improvements that people can expect to see through North Avenue Rising.
So there are a variety of different pieces involved in the project. Some of it includes dedicated bus lanes along the corridor, sidewalk improvements, roadway repaving, the addition of bike share facilities along the corridor, as well as parallel bicycle facilities, and improvements to the metro station, the Penn North Metro Station.
I guess it's one of the longest streets in the city, from West Baltimore to East Baltimore. Where along that stretch of roadway will North Avenue Rising actually occur?
So North Avenue Rising is going to have impacts along the full 5-mile length of North Avenue, from, we say, Hilton Avenue in the west side to Milton Avenue on the east side. And there's going to be sort of targeted investments at different points along that corridor, but there'll be pieces happening along almost the entire length of that corridor.
And when will the various projects that you mentioned begin?
So we're just starting out the process right now. We applied for a grant from the federal government back in April of 2016 and heard in August 2016 that we were receiving that grant. It's taken us a year to go through the federal grant authorization process. And now we're just starting out a public involvement process with a variety of kickoff meetings, and we're getting the ideas from those that will go into a series of concepts that we'll develop, and then have a set of meetings in February 2018 where we bring those pieces back out to the community. We'll spend the rest of 2018 sort of finalizing the design based on the comments that we get in that process, and then we'll be working on procurement in 2019, and then there'll be construction starting in 2019 and going through 2020 and finishing at the end of 2021.
So I know that this project involves federal, state, and local funding. How much money is actually geared for this project?
Okay. There's $27.3 million in total funding for the project. Of that, $14.7 million is State Department of Transportation funding, $10 million is federal funding from the Federal Transit Administration, $1.6 million is from the Federal Highway Administration, and $1 million is from Baltimore City Department of Transportation.
So it sounds like a really big initiative. What kind of economic development do you expect to, see from this North Avenue Rising project?
There's a lot of economic development already happening along North Avenue, and this project is really designed to strengthen and to spread that economic development through more of the corridor. And it's going to happen through a variety of ways. There's the actual construction projects, the construction jobs that'll happen as a part of building the project. There are the improvements to the mobility for people by improving the transit and bicycling and walking conditions, as well as driving and truck driving conditions along the corridor. And then in addition to that, we're working to partner with other agencies from both the local jurisdiction at the city as well as at the state level to really build beyond the roadway. What are the things that can happen in terms of housing, in terms of other economic development that can happen in the corridor? And the Maryland Department of Planning is doing a study to evaluate the economic impacts of the project over the course of the corridor and the course of the project.
Now, with all the changes that would be coming to North Avenue, what do you see these improvements doing to impact the community?
So there are a wide variety of different impacts that projects that are going to be happening as a part of North Avenue Rising. One of the key pieces is dedicated bus lanes. Another is streetscape and pedestrian safety improvements. There are also transit signal priority and bus shelter improvements as a part of the project. And then there are parallel bike facilities, the bike lanes that I already mentioned, as well as bike share stations and some investments at the metro station, at the Penn North Metro Station.
Seems like a lot of really good benefits for the area.
Yeah, it's a lot of different work. We recognize that while $27.3 million is a lot of funding, it doesn't go that far once you start construction. And so we're really trying to target those efforts at the places where we think that we can make the biggest impact, and then also getting input from community members about how they would like to see that funding prioritized.
And it helps to have the community buy-in.
Yeah, no, the community input is a really key piece of this, and one of the things we did when we were developing the application was we really tried to build it upon previous planning efforts that had already been undertaken. And so this project builds on a lot of different input the community has provided over years to both the city, to the MTA, to various community organizations, and then we're going to be going out multiple times throughout this project to get additional input from the community.
So how does it tie in, North Avenue Rising, how does it tie in with Baltimore Link?
North Avenue Rising really takes a lot of the infrastructure investments that were part of Baltimore Link and really tries to focus and concentrate those along the North Avenue corridor. Also, in terms of the improvements that we're making at major transfer locations, should help improve with the conditions for folks that are transferring from one route to another.
And I know you talked a little bit about the public meetings, the open houses. Are there additional open houses that are coming in the near future?
Yes, there were a series of kickoff meetings in November of 2017 that were designed to get general input from the public about the project and about the conditions on the corridor. The consultants are going to be using that work in December and January to develop concepts that will be coming back out to the public in another set of workshops in February of 2018, and then there'll be meetings throughout the project at various different stages to let folks know as the project progresses and all the way through construction.
So it sounds good. So the public will be informed through every step of the project.
Yes, no, the public is going to be very involved with this process, but it's especially important to get input from the public early in the process so that we can get an understanding of what kind of things they'd like to see as a part of this project and make sure that we're identifying all the key issues.
So with the meetings that you've had so far, what are you hearing from a number of the people? Are they excited about North Avenue Rising? Yeah,
folks are really excited about the project. They're really curious about how it's going to impact them, how it's going to connect with other things in their community, and how does this build upon ideas that they've already brought to the table. And so it's been very interesting, and we've got a website, northavenuerising.com, where folks can come and take a look at the presentations and the boards and all the materials that were at those meetings. There's also a survey on that website where folks can fill out information about what are the issues along the corridor, what would they like to see happen in the corridor.
So tell us again, what is the website for more information?
The website is northavenuerising.com, and people can also send comments or questions to info@northavenuerising.com.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, Sandy.
Just ahead, a look at how MDOT MTA is partnering with Zipcar to provide you an additional option with transit. That's next. Stay with us.
A moment in transit. Before there was MDOT MTA, there was BTC. BTC, the Baltimore Transit Company, became the Maryland Transit Administration in 1970. One man still at the agency remembers those early days. Ed Moore began his career as a bus operator in the 1960s. He's moved through the ranks to become the manager of administrative training.
I got out of the military in 1963, and about that time is when I came to the company.
Baltimore in 1963 was a far different place than today. As one of the few African-American drivers, Mr. Moore faced special challenges.
When I was operating, it wasn't a lot of African American drivers. Most drivers was white, and it was the city itself was still had problems and prejudices around things like I remember I would pull up to a bus stop at times, and I think I mentioned this once, and people would white people be standing in the bus stop. I opened the door, they would see me, and they would say, "Never mind," and they would wait for the next bus. You had situations where at certain divisions, when you went there to train, they wouldn't teach us how to drive the bus, or didn't particularly want to teach us how to drive the bus. So the city has changed a lot. I've seen a lot of changes, and to me, it's changed for the better. Nothing has deterred me from working here. I mean, because in the 60s, that's how the times were. So I can't say they were bad times. That was those times.
Mr. Moore hasn't only witnessed great social change, technology has come a long way since the 1960s.
Well, the buses now, compared to 50 years ago, are very complex because even the seat itself that the operators sit on, you know, they can push a button and the seat go up and down. We used to have to put a block of wood up under the seat if we wanted a little lumber, you know, adjustment to them. The fare boxes are very smart. Now you can just swipe a card. Of course, we had a fare box that people put money in, and the light was so dim you had to tap it, you know, to see what amount of money was in there. Right now, you just touch the center door on some buses and it open up. When I was driving, they had what they call a treadle step. You step down on it, and of course your weight on that treadle step would make the door open. Wasn't a good idea because mothers would get on or get off with children, and if the child wasn't heavy enough and the mother got off first, the door would close and we would take the child down the street, and then we hear the child crying in the mirror.
After more than 50 years, Ed Moore still sees a bright future at MDOT MTA.
But I've enjoyed every job that I've had here, and people ask me now, why don't I retire and why don't I go home? Sometimes they'll tell me, say, well, Ed, you're 76 years old. You don't want to die here. I just tell them I don't want to die at home either, so you know, what's the difference? I've had a good life. You know, some people say, I've been on this job, or you never get rich working a job. Well, they're speaking of money. I don't always look at money, even though I can use it. You know, you can become rich in other ways. And I think I really, over the years, have become rich in a lot of ways other than the dollar itself.
A moment in transit.
They say that when you're facing extreme danger, your life flashes before you. If you think that's sad, consider facing it before you even have enough life to flash before your eyes. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Deaths and injuries can be prevented by using the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to know what is appropriate for each age and size.
Providing you safe, efficient, reliable transit with world-class customer service is the #1 focus at MDOT MTA. The agency is looking at all kinds of ways to improve and enhance your transit experience. The latest is an exciting partnership with Zipcar that's designed to provide you an additional option with transit. Joining us with more on this is MDOT MTA Senior Planner Jade Clayton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, many of us have seen the small zip cars around town. For our viewers, tell us what a zip car is.
Sure. So a zip car is basically part of car sharing. It's all over downtown, now at transit stations. And you can basically find a zip car or identify it by their bright green logo and branding all over on the street or in parking garages. The cars have that logo on the side.
So give us a little history. How did the zip car come to be?
Zipcar started in Boston in 2000, and they've actually expanded, I think, to over 500 cities since then. It's almost been 20 years.
So they've become pretty popular.
Yes.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about that, the connection between Zipcar and transit.
The connection with Zipcar and transit is both for people who are already riding transit and could benefit from more options like car sharing, or from people who currently own their own car but maybe want to sell that car and start riding transit more but aren't quite comfortable going completely car-free.
And tell us a little bit also about the partnership, because I understand now Zipcar is in partnership with M.MTA. How did that come about?
So that came about through Baltimore Link. It was actually part of the first and last mile initiatives, in addition to all of the bus lanes, transit signal priority, the network redesign, and that just adds better regional mobility for all of our riders.
And I know by now many people know about Baltimore Link, but just for those who may not, just give us a little bit of background on what Baltimore Link is.
Baltimore Link was announced in October of 2015 as a total network redesign, plus all of the other capital investments that I mentioned. And we just launched the new network in the summer of 2017 and are now adding the Zipcars.
So explain the process. So if someone wants to use a Zipcar, do they have to register? Can they just use their credit card? How does that work exactly?
They do have to have a membership, because with that they get this Zipcar card, and that's used to unlock the car by scanning it in this device that's in the windshield.
And will these cars actually be located at all transit hubs?
Not all of them. I think we're going to have a total of 32 transit stations where Zipcars are located. By the end of this year, we'll have 8 stations with 15 spaces.
So what are you hearing from transit riders about Zipcars so far?
I think they like it. We first launched in West Baltimore with the launch of Baltimore Link, so it was really exciting, and they've been getting some good use out of that.
If you're getting it from one location, does it have to be returned to that location, or can you drop it off somewhere else?
It has to be a round trip, so you have to return it to the same space where you picked it up.
And how long can you keep it out? Can you rent it as long as you want, or is there a set time limit?
You do reserve a certain time, so you have to get it back in time, otherwise you keep extending it. You can do it by the hour, or you start paying a daily rate once you go past a certain number of hours.
So now if anyone wants information on Zipcar or just the whole process of how they can go about renting one, where can they go for more information?
They can go to zipcar.com to learn more about the membership rates and just how it works and signing up. But they should also look out for a forthcoming press release from M.MTA, and that'll include a landing page specifically to update our riders on when Zipcar is coming to certain transit stations.
Exciting news. Thank you so much for joining us. Just ahead, we'll introduce you to a heroic M.MTA bus operator who heroically answered the call of civic duty. That's next.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
M.MTA knows the important part its employees play in serving the citizens of Maryland in the world of transit. They're dedicated to providing the very best in service. That service and dedication can sometimes extend far beyond the regular scope of duty, as it recently did for M.MTA bus operator Courtney Scurry, who found and rescued a toddler walking the streets alone. We think she's an example of the best of MTA, and we wanted you to meet her. We welcome Kirk Bus Division bus operator Courtney Scurry to Commuter Connections. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So how long have you been an MDOT MTA bus operator?
I've been here since March the 10th, 2017.
So as a new arrival, what has the experience been for you so far?
It's been pretty good. I've drove school buses for 4 years prior to this, so it's everything I expected.
Now, why a bus operator for MDOT MTA?
Well, I enjoy driving. And like I said, I drove the school bus for 4 years, so I'm used to driving large vehicles, yes.
Okay. Now, you're being called a hero for finding and coming to the rescue of a toddler who was actually walking along the Baltimore City streets alone. So tell us a little bit about that story. What happened, that you were able to find this child?
Well, I was on my way to work. It was about 3:30 in the morning, and I see this 2-year-old toddler standing in the middle of the street on Moravia Road. I got out of my car, I picked him up and put him in my car. And at that time, I really didn't know what to do. Like, I wanted to call the police, but I was going to be late for work, and I didn't want to get a miss. So I picked him up, put him in my car, and I drove him to work and called 911 once I got to work.
Wow, so that must have been a surprise to find a child standing in the middle of a busy street normally.
Yes.
At that hour of the morning.
Yes, it was.
So what was the first thought that went through your head?
I'm like, did this child get out the house, or did someone drop him off? I mean, I didn't know what was going on.
So what was the disposition of the toddler?
He was crying. He was only wearing a diaper and a t-shirt. No socks on, shoes, or anything.
And no adults around anywhere?
No.
Now, were you nervous? I mean, did you hesitate at all, or did you, was your instinct to just jump right out and get this child?
I actually did hesitate because I know it's a lot of like scams nowadays, so I hesitated, but I couldn't leave the child out there by itself.
So did you think perhaps the child had gotten away from his parents? I know you said there was no one around. Was this a neighborhood where, did you think the child might have just walked out of the house, or was it more of a street with businesses along?
I think the child walked out the house.
Okay.
Maybe just got out of the house in the middle of the night.
So have you had an opportunity yet to meet the parents of the child?
I haven't. I haven't heard anything from the cop or the parents or anything. I hope it's okay, though.
So what did your coworkers think once you got to work? I know you said you ended up calling 911 from the bus division. So what happened there?
I actually had a lot of support from my coworkers. When I brought the child there, they actually gave him something to eat, something to drink, and they were real supportive too. So.
Oh, okay. So how was the child when you left him?
He was fine. He was smiling, and my coworkers was talking to him, and we just was waiting for the officer to come.
So when did this incident happen?
It happened about 2 months after I was driving for the MTA.
Oh, so very early in your career. That's
early,
one of the
yes.
first things that you have happened. So now that you've been with MTA a little while, do you have any long-range plans? What are your aspirations?
I would like to go into supervision, hopefully one day being the administrator of MTA.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Yes, it would.
So I know the family really appreciates all that you did for their child, and MDOT MTA is so very proud of you. So thank you again. You were at the right place at the right time, and you stepped up where it counted. So one last question. How does it feel to be a hero?
I don't consider myself a hero. I just feel like I did a good deed, that's all.
Well, keep up the good work, and hope you have a long and enjoyable career at MDOT MTA. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Just ahead, we'll look at the MDOT MTA annual train garden and meet up with everyone's favorite person, Santa. Stay with us.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
It's hard to believe, but the holiday season is upon us. A big part of the experience here in town is the MDOT MTA Holiday Train Garden at our Metro Subway Link Mondawmin Station, which always makes the holiday special. Joining us with a look at the Holiday Train Garden is a guest who needs very little introduction, as everyone knows and loves him. We welcome Santa to Commuter Connection. Welcome,
Thank
Santa.
You, Sandy. Thank you.
So how's the year been for you so far?
Awesome, simply awesome. Just making sure I'm checking those lists and checking it twice, making sure those kids haven't been naughty, but nice. Right?
So are you all ready for the big day?
Of course, just doing those last minute details. Just making sure we're able to get hitting everybody.
I know you have a lot of work ahead of you. So how far in advance, how early in the year do you actually start planning and getting everything ready for Christmas?
Right after the holiday, Mrs. Claus and I, we take a quick vacation and then we're right back at it. Elves are putting in the work.
Okay. And what are some of your bigger challenges just getting everything prepared in time?
Well, of course, trying to hit every kid all over the world. There's a lot of logistics to it. Get the sleigh ready and we're off.
Now you have to tell us, what is the popular item that kids are asking for this year?
Well, of course, your electronics, your Xbox and your PlayStations and of course the drones. All the kids love the drones. Those are the bigger kids, but some of the smaller kids, they like the Hatchimals. I don't know what that is.
Okay, so and I understand too that you're going to be partnering with MDOT MTA again this year at the train garden at the Mondawmin Metro Subway Link Station.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that. I've seen it. I know it's wonderful, but for viewers who don't know.
It's a beautiful, hands-on, interactive model train garden. And it's at Mondawmin. Now the kids can come in, they can push buttons and move levers and move little things around and gadgets. And inside there's all over Baltimore landscapes. You have your McDonald's and ice skating rinks, and it's just a beautiful piece of work.
I always find it fascinating to see the kids. Their faces are just pushed up on the glass. They're just having a great time with it. So is there a cost for the train garden?
There's no cost, just the cost to get into the station as your regular fare.
How long has the train garden display been open?
Well, it opened on Thanksgiving, and it'll run through the end of the year. The station's open at 5 a.m. in the morning and close at 1 o'clock during the weekdays. Weekends start at 6 a.m. and all the way up to 1 a.m. So
it'll be running all during that time.
Yes.
And do you plan to make any special appearance at the train garden this year?
Santa will pop in from here from time to time, and hopefully I get to see some kids while they're playing around with it and just see their smiles light up on their faces.
And there's so many people at Mondawmin. How does it feel just being around all of them with all the holiday cheer?
Oh, just to see the smiles on people's faces when Santa walks into a room, it's just a lovely feeling. Just feel the love for Santa.
And the kids are probably running up and getting hugs
yes.
all kinds of things. So what are your plans after the holiday season this year?
Well, the wife and I, we plan on taking another vacation, and we do like the beach.
Oh, okay.
So maybe some sand between the toes, maybe one of the Caribbean islands or something. Get away from the cold.
I'm with you on that. Well, Santa, thank you so much for joining us again. Happy holidays, and good luck with getting everything ready for Christmas.
Thank you. Oh, happy holiday, and happy holidays to everyone.
That brings us to the end of another Commuter Connections program. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.